everyone, welcome to Paranormal Wavelengths. This is Paratopics with Bob segment, where we'll be talking to different guests, and tonight's guest is Pare-Duchesne from PO3 Paranormal, and she is also from Canada. Beauty, eh? And I have had the pleasure to investigate with her quite a few times, and she was down here not too long ago in Florida, and she did an investigation up in Green Cove Springs, Florida, at the old Clay County Jail and Courthouse. If you check out our YouTube, there's two videos on there called the Old Courthouse Investigation and the Old Jail Investigation, and she got awesome confirmation for messages she shared with us that she was getting from spirits there that we were able to confirm through the archive. Very awesome. So definitely, if you like what you see tonight with her interview, definitely check out those videos because they back up that she's pretty legit psychic medium. But tonight's topic is going to be Psychic Squared, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Teena's going to let us know her opinion on these, the bad, the good, and the ugly of the Psychic Squared world. And I've talked with her before at these different investigations and everything and events, and she has some good ideas or good opinions about these things. So it'll be very cool to get her on. And you know what? I'm going to stop gabbing. We'll see if we can get this TV to work tonight. Lately, it's been acting up. I'm starting to wonder if that guy in the dark alley I bought it from already knew this TV was cursed. We'll keep our fingers crossed that not too many weird things happen tonight. All I know is, ooh. Alright, let's do a little bang on here. What the heck was that? Alright, let's try that again. That was kind of weird. Alright, nothing's happening. Let's try it again. What the frig? What the hell is that noise? I've heard this before. That is really weird. Okay, let me try this again. What the frig? Why do these words keep popping out? I see these words. I've seen this before on a show somewhere. I don't know. Let me see. Okay, this is getting crazy now. Everything I'm doing, these freaking words are popping up. And now I hear this freaking thing again. This. What the frig? I know what it is. Hey, I got it. Batman! Awesome. I cannot believe I couldn't figure that out, what it was. Hey.
What are you doing?
Hey, we got Pare-Duchesne on. You made it on.
I made it on.
Yeah, I had some cursed difficulties from the stupid TV, so I'll tell you about it later. How are you doing tonight?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I am doing awesome now that I got you on my TV here.
TV? On the cursed TV?
On the first TV of the cursed. Sorry. This is like the old shows. Even though it's pre-recorded, Bob still messes up. But before you came on, I was telling people about the topic tonight. I would like you to refresh their memory. What are we going to be talking about tonight?
Psychic Squared. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And why are we talking about psychics? Because you are...
A psychic medium.
Yes, she is. And if you haven't checked it out yet, she was in a couple of other YouTube videos, and her talents were very profiled on there. You hit on, with anyone that knows me, doesn't matter if I've known a medium or a psychic for years, I'm always testing them. It's just my weird side. And I tested her that night and she did really awesome.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love skeptics. I love skeptics.
Now, you say psychic squared, the good, the bad, and ugly. We have talked about this subject before. I don't know if I'm just naive or just haven't worked around psychics enough. I mean, over the years I've worked with them more, but I always thought that you shouldn't really have two psychics together, close together in a location, because it can kind of damper each other or knock each other's, I don't know, signal out. I don't mean to like talk like that, but
No, I understand.
what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you and Brandy have worked together, and I know you and Teresa Lynch have been at locations together.
Yep. And I also, I've worked with a few psychics on my side of the river as well. Adrian Murphy actually is someone that I was on a couple of teams with, and we worked well together. It all depends on who you have working with you, right? If you guys have the same kind of energy, you can almost amp each other up when you're on location. So it really depends. I like working with other psychics. When you find some that you meld with very well, you actually get better readings.
So you can actually, now you said you amp each other up, like you can feed off each other's energy.
Right, exactly.
Now does that also help? They can also help protect you too if you're in a location where there might be something negative too, right?
Absolutely, yeah. For example, Brandy and I, the first time we read together was in a jail in Ohio, the old Licking Jail in Ohio. And as I was picking up on one story, she would kind of lay low and feed me with her energy, or vice versa. So it really helped us get a lot of detail when we were doing readings. So as long as you can work with someone where you're not trying to overstep each other, it's fantastic.
That's what I was going to say. It's almost like when we do EVP sessions, you try not to talk over each other, give enough time to maybe get an answer. So with psychics, you almost got to give each other ample time to get that message that gets whispered in your ear.
That's right.
And I don't know, I always thought it was hard. Like, have you ever, I don't ever name drop, but you ever come across working with someone where they like almost blocked you out, not meaning to?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, there's some psychics that you can work very well with. There's others that when they're reading, that's it. Nobody else in the room can talk. Nobody else can feed them any kind of information. You just got to let them do their thing, and that's fine. I mean, everybody works differently. I don't want to say egos, but that's kind of what it is. I don't believe that any two psychics work the same. We all have the same principle. We can all, as a psychic medium, you talk to the other side, or you can pick up on residual energy from a building. There's some psychics that they want to do that all on their own. They don't want to work with someone else. So for me, I learned to be an investigator first. So it's very easy for me to take a step back and let someone else read. Whereas I know some psychics that can't do that. Like if I were to be reading, they would want to overstep. So it's just, you got to find somebody that you can work with.
It's cool you mentioned about the investigating part. I've noticed as the years pass here, the psychic mediums are starting to be investigators too, because I think maybe that's why I was more skeptical of you guys in the early days, because a lot of them wouldn't even touch equipment. They just come in, and like you said, some would have egos, and they'd be in the center of the room going, blah, blah, just keep going, talking, and you can't even do an EVP session because they're not giving us a chance to a spirit to communicate with us, to leave something on our recorders. And I've talked to you about this the one lady I used to work with, this is probably 10 years ago, she was all about, she'd get in the middle of the room and be like, oh, honey, back up, your energy, you're too much, you're overwhelming, blah, blah. And it wouldn't stop. And you'd kind of be like, just sitting there like, and that's kind of what you're saying is, I like it. I don't want to say, I'm going to say it. I feel like when you investigated with me, I think it gives you more credential when you see the psychic medium also an investigator. Do you think that's true, or?
Absolutely. And when I'm with a team investigating, if I've been called in to act as a psychic medium with a team investigating, I always ask the team first. If we're sitting doing an EVP session, I will say, do you want me to tell you what I'm getting? And if they say no, I respect that, and we do a regular EVP session. If they say yes, then I will say a little bit of what I'm getting, and then step back so that we can ask some questions, because as a psychic, I know what I'm seeing in my head, and I know what I'm hearing, but in the essence of it, we're just storytelling. That's the best way to put it. If I could plug a projector into my head and show you what I see, that would be just phenomenal.
That'd be awesome.
I can't, so I have to try and describe what I'm seeing to the best of my ability, and then once I get that out, if you've got EVPs to back it, or you've got anything on video to back it, or something historically that someone has, like if you've got a historian on site to back up what you're getting, then that's kind of the best case scenario when you're working in the field. I think, at least, in my opinion.
No, that's very awesome, all the stuff you were saying, because you were backed up by the archives at the jail.
Right.
And it was awesome because you had no knowledge of the place we were going to, and that's what I love when, I suggested to you, if you got something in your head, we're getting a message, just say it out loud as we're investigating in between if people are doing an EVP session, because I said, if you say it now on camera and then later we do catch EVP, those people that are the skeptics, they'll be like, oh, hold on, she said this earlier, and then when they went over to evidence, they actually had an EVP instead of getting the EVP, and then you going, oh my, that was in my head, that name was in there, I just didn't say it. People are like, really?
Yeah, right, exactly.
And like, you're not really you're trying to convince me a little bit, because I'm pretty on the fence with everything. I'm pretty accepting of mediums and psychics abilities, and but you're trying to convince those people that are sitting there, the naysayers, So that's why.
Constant test.
Yes, and
we're constantly being tested. Like, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but like with me being in Canada, when I flew down to Florida to do that investigation with you, that's the first time I've been on a plane, first time I've been to Florida. I knew nothing, and I didn't even find out we were going to a jail until we were getting in the car to go there.
Yep.
I had no idea of the town that we were going to. I knew nothing, absolutely nothing walking into that place. So I think that was part of what gave me some credibility as well, because I know, like you said, you test.
Yeah.
So the fact that I knew absolutely nothing and I walked in and got some good stuff, it's good for me too, right? Because when I can go in there and, like, for example, with the name, like the fact that I got the name and what he was convicted of, and then it was backed up by the historical documents, that's confirmation for me, and it's like a big, it's funny because when you've got two psychics together and somebody nails it and it matches up with the historical documents, like Brandy and I will high-five each other, and yeah, that's awesome, like it's like a celebration.
I know you don't want to talk about ego, but that's a big ego boost of, like, or not ego, we won't say ego, a confidence. It's like that even makes you even more confident of, like, all right, what's coming through, I'm hearing it right. Because I know sometimes mediums, the messages can come, they're not perfect coming through. You can misunderstand them sometimes, right?
Right.
And people think it's a perfect science, like you're getting a phone call and it's perfectly coming through, and I've talked with enough psychic mediums. They say, it's a message being sent to you, but you don't always understand it right away.
That's right.
And that's something people got to understand, that it's not a exact science of how the message comes through to you. But yeah, I'm telling you, if you get a chance, definitely check out the courthouse video, because when she hit on it, a name, she kept on saying his name a couple times, and then twice she said what she felt. Or the one thing you said, the story I'm getting is, it's not like you're saying, well, this is what I'm saying. You said, the story I'm getting, like being told to you. And then I ran over to the archives just because it was bugging me so much. I had to go check it out. And it was just weird. You got to check it out. It was such a confirmation, and like you said, such a confidence booster. Now, talking here about our topic, I take it the good is, with two psychics together, you can boost each other's energy. Can help you also protect yourselves better in case there's negative stuff there. What do you feel the bad is? Was that with the people with the ego trying to take over?
Yeah, that can be part of it. I think another part is sometimes you're just so on track with something that you're trying to get out a story, and if you've got someone else that's trying to get something out, I'm going to use an example because it's the best way to explain the situation. Brandy and I were at a place in Ohio. It was called the Gill House in Ohio. And we were both walking through doing readings, and I would say something and Brandy would say something, and we go back and forth. Well, we were both on different planes, so to speak. Like, I was reading something from the 20s, and she was reading from something from like the 50s, like it's something like to that effect. So she went in and said, "This is what I'm seeing." And then I went behind her and said, "Well, this is what I'm seeing." And she turned to me and said, "No." And I went, "Oh, wait a minute." Yes. But it's hard because, like, we were seeing completely different time frames and completely different stories. So it's hard when you're working with another psychic in that sense to try and, you don't want to discredit the other person. It's hard to take a step back and say, okay, we're not seeing anything alike. So let's see if we can back up both of our stories.
Yeah.
That I find is hard. And it doesn't, like I said, if you find the right person to work with, it doesn't happen often. But that is, that can be really hard because when there's got to be a lot of trust with your team.
Yeah.
So when I'm working with someone that I trust and that I'm very confident in their abilities, and then they turn to me and say, "No, I'm not ready," well, it's a bit of a blow. And it's funny because even with, I always tell people that we're storytellers, and unfortunately, no psychic is ever 100% right. I know there's some out there that will tell you that they are, but they're not. We're not always 100% right. Nobody is. Nobody's perfect.
Now, you said you guys were on different levels. Could it just be like, because I know going to investigations, your energy levels, I know sometimes people say if you're going to go investigating, if you've had negative stuff going on all day or something, you got to try and reground yourself, or maybe you shouldn't go on an investigation because you're not at a high energy. And I'm a big believer, if you're sending out negative energy into the universe, you might get something negative back. Now, I'm not saying demons, I'm just saying negative energy. And
crabby spirits.
Yes, crabby spirits. And so I could see how you're two different levels. Say you didn't have a great day at work, it was real stressful, your level of energy's down and hers is higher, she had a great day, something would happen. Well, that's maybe why she's in the 1950s and you're in the 20s, you're getting different, levels. Which is kind of weird, getting like that.
Some spirits resonate with you more than others. Like, I was picking up on a gentleman there, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me why he wouldn't leave me alone. Like, he followed me all throughout the house and kept repeating the story. We had Jeff Bent's Geo Box. Jeff was with us.
Yeah.
The Geo Box kept asking for me specifically. And it kept saying attic. So Jeff gave me the box, and I went up to the attic, and we got some really good responses through the box with questions I was asking to this gentleman. And he kept coming through saying, I love you, or you're beautiful, or which was, a bit of an ego boost for me, but come to find out afterward that the person that was talking to me was the brother of the owner of the house. And we found this out through the historian months later when we went back to revisit. And I said to her, this is who I was seeing and this is who I was talking to. And she told me who it was. And I said, he kept saying, I love you to me, or you're beautiful. And she said, because you look like his wife. And he adored his wife. And I said, well, okay. And she showed me a picture, and I did. I looked just like this lady. And I said, okay, that's why he wouldn't leave me alone.
So that's kind of cool, though. Seeing something like that.
It was really neat. And what I was telling her, what I was getting, was exactly, like, it made sense. Now, Brandy, on the other hand, wasn't speaking to him, but she was seeing a story of these gentlemen sitting around a table, and there was blueprints or whatever, and it was the owner of the house and Henry Ford. She could tell it was Henry Ford for sure. And she said, and there was another gentleman, and we couldn't figure out for the life of us. And we thought that coming through the box, it kept saying Madison. And Jeff said, are you sure it said Madison? And I said, well, I can't be sure, but I think it did. And when we went back through the archive, like when we went back and listened to it, I said Edison. So I looked up a picture of Thomas Edison, and I showed it to Brandy, and I said, is this the gentleman you saw? And she said, yes, who is that? I said, it's Thomas Edison, and he was known to frequent at the house with Henry Ford and Mr. Gill. So
see, that's an awesome story.
She was right too. She was right too. I was right on a totally different story, but she was right on her story. So it's kind of like, even when you're seeing different things, it's still cool to get that confirmation that both stories are correct.
Now, here's a question. I know back in the day when we had two mediums there, we actually sent them in separate, one at a time, so they wouldn't cross over. And then after we come out, and like Rich would talk to one, and I would talk to the other, and then Rich and I would talk about the findings of each one and see if anything crisscrossed. And it was cool because some of them, they would hit in the same room because it was a residential, it wasn't a good location, something bad happened there. And they both hit on the room where the bad event happened, and they didn't know nothing about the house. So that was kind of cool confirmation. We already knew which was the bad room, and they both nailed it. Both didn't like that room, and both didn't want to go near it. But they never crossed paths doing their readings together. It just, they did it separately. Do you think that's a good plan sometimes if people are overstepping each other, to maybe pull one back, have one go through, and then have the other one?
Well, you guys did that with us at OSPH. At the Old South Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's true, yeah, because I walked with you.
I did a walkthrough with you, and then Brandy did a walkthrough with Rich.
Yeah.
And Rich wanted to do that. Well, both of you really wanted to do that in the beginning to see if Brandy and I would hit on the same rooms. And we only did the first floor, but I think we picked up on the same areas and the same rooms, and we didn't like certain areas. And those areas happened to be the places where we had a lot of negative things happen throughout the weekend.
And I forgot, because after we did that, we only got to do that one area because then there was a lot of commotion because there was an event going on. A lot of people started filing in, so I had to go cook the hot dogs.
Wiener Man.
The Wiener Man had to work the hot dogs. But
that was a great event.
It was an awesome event. So
that's the first time I met you.
Yes, it is. And now we're still hanging out.
That's what we'll call it.
That's what we'll call it. Wink.
Okay.
We're getting close near the time here. There might be a weird sound go off. We're not sure. But so we did the good, the bad, and what's the ugly?
Well, certainly not me. No, I'm just kidding. The ugly is when the ego comes in and you really start overstepping each other, and then you can't work together, and then it ends up splitting up a team, and it's upsetting. And I'm not going to say names, but that has happened to me with different people. I can't work with them, which is upsetting. Well, I shouldn't say you can't work with them. You have to take a step back and let all of that kind of diffuse, and then go back into it again. You have to walk into every investigation being open and understanding and just respectful. Above anything else, respectful. And when you get to that point where there's no respect anymore, then it gets ugly.
Well, yeah, I was thinking the ugly too is when you get somebody in the room, not saying they're not psychic medium, but they're not at a level they're trying to say they're at, and they're not. And they're trying to take over. I've been around people like that, which a good friend of mine, Scotty Rourke, that you got to meet not too long ago.
Oh, I love that man.
We were at an event, and there was a lady there. She was a paid customer, and she said she was psychic. So Scotty's like, "Oh, do your thing." So we're sitting there, and she's doing her thing. All of a sudden, Scotty goes, "Stop fishing." Hey, all right, we're back. I guess that's the Cursed TV's way of saying bye-bye, guest. We're at its mercy. But I just want to thank Teena for coming on and sharing her views of the topic, Psychic Squared, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Very awesome conversation. I'm glad the TV held off almost till the end of cutting her off and being done with her, or our guest. And I will see you guys next time, and I can't guarantee what's going to happen with this TV when we're pressing the buttons or banging on it. So you guys all have a good night, and like I always say, keep the positive energy flowing. See you later.